In this video, we're going to be decomposing improper rational expressions. And again, improper rational expression is when the degree of the top is bigger than the degree of the bottom. If a rational expression is in this form, we're going to use long division. First, to rewrite the expression as a sum of a polynomial and a proper expression. So let's work on one of these. Find the partial fraction decomposition of each rational expression. So step number one, let's go ahead and change this to a proper fraction by using long division. So we're going to do x squared plus x divided into negative x squared plus 8x plus 5. And again, I want to point out that the powers are equal, and it does say improper when the degree of the numerator is greater than or equal. So therefore, let's divide this. X squared into negative x squared will go negative one time. Multiply it out, gives you a negative x squared, a negative x, and I should have put a 0 out here to fill in that missing term. Then you have a plus or minus 0, it doesn't matter. We subtract everything. So if you want to put a minus in parentheses here, these cancel. 8 minus negative 1 gives me 9x. 5 minus 0 gives me a positive 5. So let's go ahead and rewrite that now as negative 1 plus the remainder over x squared plus x. So now what you're going to decompose is this part, and we're going to do it exactly like we did last chapter. We're going to go ahead and factor the x squared plus x, and that's going to be an x times x plus 1. Let's go ahead and let me change colors here. And we're going to leave our negative 1. I'm just going to come down here to the bottom and work this separately. So now we've got 9x plus 5 over x squared plus x. We're going to decompose that into a over x plus b over x plus 1. So now from here on out, the method is the same. So let's multiply through by this common denominator. You're going to have 9x plus 5 equals a times x plus 1 plus a b times x. Distribute your a, gives you 9x plus 5 is equal to ax plus a, and then plus your bx. Group your x stuff together. Let me come over here, and you now have 9x plus 5 equals. Let's group the x stuff together and go ahead and factor the a and b, or excuse me, factor the x out, and you're going to be left with a plus b times x, and then your only constant term is that plus a. Now pair them. Pair your x stuff together, and that tells me that a plus b has to equal 9, and this works out great. Our a value is our only constant. That tells me that a has to equal 5. So therefore, that's half of my answer. Plug that back in, and you find out that b is equal to 4. So therefore, go back up here, and where you have an a, we're going to put a 5. Where you have a b, we're going to put a 4. So therefore, my partial fraction decomposition is negative 1 plus this decomposes into 5 over x plus 4 over x plus 1. And that's your final answer. Let's do another one. Step number 1 is we divide this. So we're going to use long division here because the powers are the same. So you have x squared plus 6x minus 16. Divided into 7x squared plus 50x minus 108. X squared into 7x squared goes 7 times. So let's distribute. Gives you 7x squared plus 42x minus 112. Subtract. These will cancel. 50 minus 42 gives you 8x. Negative 108 minus negative 112 is negative 108 plus 112, which is a positive 4. So therefore, what we've done is we've divided, and we've got 7 plus, we're going to write our remainder, which is 8x plus 4, over what we divided into, or divided by, which is x squared plus 6x minus 16. So that's what we're going to decompose now. I'm going to draw me a line right here, and we're going to do it below. Let's factor the bottom. Factors into adds, multiplies is a positive 8 and a negative 2. So therefore, we're going to have our original problem. Actually, this is what we're decomposing. 8x plus 4 over x squared plus 6x minus 16 will decompose into a over x plus 8 plus b over x minus 2. Multiply everything by the common denominator, and that gives you 8x plus 4 equals, the x plus 8 cancels here and leaves you with a times x minus 2, plus the x plus 2's cancel here and leaves you with b times x plus 8. Distributive property, we now have 8x plus 4 equals ax minus 2a plus bx plus 8b. Group your x's together, and you now have, here's an x and here's an x. That would be a plus b when you factor that x out. And then you have plus your constant terms, which is a negative 2a and a positive 8b. So now let's pair them. My x stuff pairs together, and that tells me that a plus b has to equal 8. Your constant terms paired together tells me that negative 2a plus 8b has to equal 4. Now, this would be a great time to use elimination. It'd be very easy to multiply the first equation by 2, but regardless of how you do it, you're going to find out that a and b are equal to 6 and 2. So therefore, we have now decomposed this into 7 plus. This is what we were decomposing. Our a value is equal to 6, so you have 6 over x plus 8, plus your b value is 2 over x minus 2. So there's your final answer. Okay, example number 3. Again, first step is our long division. And let me go ahead and erase some of this last problem so I have more room. And now let's use long division. X squared, and you do have to put plus 0 x's. Any terms that are missing when you're doing long division, you have to put. You have 3x squared plus 7x minus 20. This will go 3 times. Go ahead and multiply. 3 times x squared plus 3 times 0x and 3 times negative 25. Subtract. These cancel. 7 minus 0 gives you 7x. Negative 20 minus minus, that'd be negative 20 plus 75, which is a positive 55. So you've just broken this down into 3 plus the remainder, which is 7x plus 55 over x squared minus 25. Let's go ahead and factor the bottom, and I'm going to do this one a little bit different. So your bottom factors into, that's difference of squares, it'll factor into conjugates, x plus 5 times x minus 5. So we now have 3 plus, we're going to break this down into a over x plus 5 plus b over x minus 5. So we've got to figure out what our a is and what our b is. The way we're going to do that is we're going to take that fraction that we're trying to decompose, 7x plus 55 over x squared minus 25. We're going to set it equal to that a over x plus 5 plus b over x minus 5. Let's multiply every term by our common denominator, and you now have 7x plus 55 equals a times x minus 5 plus b times x plus 5. Distributive property gives you 7x plus 55 is equal to ax minus 5a plus bx plus 5b. Group your x stuff together and factor it out, and you're left with a plus b times x plus your constant terms, which is simply negative 5a and a positive 5b. So we now know that our x term has to equal 7, so a plus b has to be 7, and our constant term is equal to 55, so negative 5a plus 5b is equal to 55. Now, the best way to, watch how easy this is. You could use elimination. The best way to solve this is by just taking every term here and divide by 5. That gives you a negative a positive b, and is equal to 11, because then this eliminates. Gives you 2b is 18, so b has to be 9. And if b is 9, that tells me that my A value is -2. So therefore, let's go back here to my original problem. My A value is -2, so I can actually put a -2 here. My B value is a 9, so therefore there is my decomposition. Okay, example 4. Again, we're going to use long division to start the problem out because the powers are the same. I do remind you that when you're dividing, any missing term has to be put in there. So x to the third plus x squared minus 9x minus 9 divided into 2x to the third. You do have to put 0x squared. You have to put 0x, and then you have your minus 30. This will go 2 times. Multiply it out. You have 2x to the third plus 2x squared minus 18x minus 18. We are going to subtract that. These cancel, gives you -2x squared, a positive 18x, and -30 plus 18 is a -12. So what we have now split our expression into is 2 plus the remainder, which is a -2x squared plus 18x minus 12 over what you divided by, which is x to the third plus x squared minus 9x minus 9. So this was a little bit trickier. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to break this apart. The way we're going to break this apart is, first off, we got to factor the bottom, and I believe we can factor by grouping. You're left with, when you factor an x squared out of the first group, you're left with x plus 1. Factor a -9 out of the second group, you're left with x plus 1 again. Factor x plus 1 out of both of those, and you're left with x squared minus 9, and that does factor by difference of squares. So that's going to be x plus 1 times x plus 3 times x minus 3. So my problem is going to break into, I'm just going to bring the 2 down, plus we're going to have an a value over x plus 1, plus a b value over x plus 3, plus a c value over x minus 3. So this part right here, we're going to decompose this into. So let's come down here in a different color and write all of that out. So you have -2x squared plus 18x minus 12 over x to the third plus x squared minus 9x minus 9. And again, we're going to break it into this. So let me go ahead and write it. Let's start out the problem now by multiplying everything by the common denominator. And that's going to give you the top right here, because the bottoms are going to cancel completely, is equal to, okay, the x plus 1's cancel here and leaves you with a times the x plus 3 times the x minus 3, plus the x plus 3's cancel here and leaves you with the b and the x plus 1 and the x minus 3. And here the x minus 3 cancels and leaves you with the c, the x plus 1, and the x plus 3. Distribute everything. And again, this is just going to be brought down every time. So here you have a times x squared minus 9. Zoom in a little bit. Plus b times x squared minus 2x minus 3. Plus c times x squared plus 4x plus 3. Again, distributive property. This will be ax squared minus 9a. This would be plus bx squared minus 2bx minus 3b. Plus cx squared plus 4cx plus 3c. Now, group all your x squared stuff together and let's factor. There's your x squared, so we're going to have a plus b plus c, x squareds. Let's group our x stuff together, which is here and here. So that's going to be plus a -2b and a positive 4c times x. And then your constant terms are here, here, and here. So that's going to be plus a -9a, a -3b, and a positive 3c. So now we're ready to set up our system. Here's our x squared stuff. So that tells me that the first part of our system, we'll put them right here, that a plus b plus c will have to equal -2. This tells me that negative 2b plus 4c is going to have to equal my x term, which is 18. And my constant, negative 9a, negative 3b, and a positive 3c will have to equal my constant term, which is negative 12. When I solve that, that tells me my a, my b, and my c values, which are 4, negative 7, and 1. So therefore, go back to your original problem, and we have broken this down into, and we could just actually just write it right here. 4, our b value is negative 7, and our c value was 1. So therefore, there's our final answer. Okay, the next one. Same method. We're going to divide to begin with. Now, a little bit uglier division because it's improper and it's a higher power. So we're going to, well, let's just divide over here. We're going to divide x squared minus 4x minus 12 into x to the third minus 8x squared plus x plus 26. So it's going to take a couple of steps this time. X squared into x to the third goes x times. Distribute, be x to the third minus 4x squared minus 12x. Let's subtract. These will cancel. Negative 8 minus negative 4 will be a negative 4x squared. 1 minus negative 12 will be plus 13x. Bring down the 26. We hadn't had to do that yet. X squared into negative 4x squared goes negative 4 times. Distribute gives me negative 4x squared plus 16x plus 48. When you subtract, these cancel, leaves you with negative 3x, and 26 minus 48 is a negative 18. Actually, excuse me, negative 22. There we go. So now we have rewritten this into, let's see, x minus 4 is what we got when we divided. So you have x minus 4 plus your remainder over what you're dividing by. And that is what we're going to try to decompose. The x plus 4 is done. So now we're going to decompose the rest of it into some fractions, into a couple of fractions here. So let's go ahead, and we could actually come straight down from there. And any of these methods that I'm using, you can do whatever is the cleanest to you. And that's supposed to be a 12. Yeah. There we go. We got to factor the bottom. The bottom is going to factor into x minus 6 and x plus 2. So therefore, we're going to break this into a over x minus 6 plus b over x plus 2. Step number 1, let's multiply everything by the common denominator. Here, you're left with just your negative 3x minus 22. Over here, the x minus 6's will cancel and leave you with a times x plus 2. Plus here, your x plus 2's cancel and leaves you with b times x minus 6. So this one's going to be a little bit easier. Distributive property gives you ax plus 2a plus bx minus 6b. Group your x's, group your constants. That gives you a plus b times your x, and then plus your constant, which is 2a minus 6b. And again, we're just bringing that down each time. Your x terms line up and tells me that a plus b has to be negative 3. And this, 2a minus 6b, has to equal a negative 22. And there's your systems. Once you solve your system, you will find out that your a value and your b value are negative 5 and 2. So therefore, back to our original. My a value is negative 5. My b value is 2. So therefore, we decompose this into x minus 4, which was finished already, minus 5 over x minus 6, plus 2 over x plus 2. And again, I put this minus out front just because I had to put the x minus 4 with it as well. So there's your final answer. Okay, one more. Step number 1, let's go ahead and divide this. So you have x squared plus x minus 12 divided into x to the third plus 3x squared minus 27x minus 36. That's going to go x times. Multiply it out, gives you x to the third plus x squared minus 12x. Let's subtract. These cancels. 3 minus 1 gives you 2x squared. Negative 27 minus minus will be negative 27 plus 12 is negative 15x. Bring down your negative 36. X squared will go into 2x squared 2 times. Distribute gives you 2x squared plus 2x minus 24. Subtract, cancels. That gives you a negative 17x and a negative 12. So therefore, our answer has now turned into, we've decomposed, well, actually, we've divided this, and we got x plus 2, plus our remainder, which was a negative 17x minus 12 over what we divided by, which is x squared plus x minus 12. Now, again, we're done here, but we're going to decompose this proper fraction. We pretty much turned that improper fraction now into a proper fraction. And let's decompose the proper fraction by first off factoring the bottom. The bottom's going to factor into an x plus 4 and an x minus 3. So let's come down here and decompose negative 17x minus 12 over x squared plus x minus 12 equals a over x plus 4 plus a b over x minus 3. So let's multiply everything by the common denominator first. And again, this is your common denominator. You're going to be left with negative 17x minus 12 equals the x plus 4's cancel and leaves you with a times x minus 3 plus the x minus 3's cancel and leaves you with b times x plus 4. Distributive property gives you ax minus 3a plus bx plus 4b. Let's group our x's together and factor, and you're going to have a plus b times x plus your constant terms, which is negative 3a plus 4b. Let's now pair these, and that tells me that a plus b has to be a negative 17, and negative 3a plus 4b has to equal a negative 12, and that is your system. Solving the system, you find out that your a value and your b value are negative 8 and negative 9. So now scrolling back up, our a value here is negative 8. Our b value here is a negative 9. So therefore, we have now broken my proper fraction into x plus 2. Since it's a minus 8 over x plus 4, I'm going to put minus our 8. I'm going to put the minus out front. Now, you do have to be careful. If there were 2 terms on top, you would have to distribute that negative out in order to do this. But since there's only the 8 on top, it's really easy to just write it as is. And there is your final answer.